Imagine this. One day, you wake up, take a wrong step, and suddenly, your body doesn't respond the way it used to. It wasn't an accident. It was a warning. Most people think that walking is enough to stay in shape, but you know what? It's not. Thousands of people reach their 60s, 70s, and 80s without realizing they're losing something more important than mobility. They're losing their independence. Don't wait until your body makes you pay the price. Today, I'm going to show you the 7 things you should do instead of just walking if you want to stay strong, steady, and in control of your life. And the last one? That's the difference between standing on your own or relying on others for everything. I'm Celia, and this is for those who refuse to just grow old. They choose to age with power. The first step to staying strong in life is having a body that supports you, but that means nothing if your hands become useless. That brings us to the second key point of this video. Train your grip or prepare to lose everything. Think about it. How many times a day do you use your hands for something essential? Opening a bottle, holding a plate, pulling up your pants, grabbing a handrail to keep from falling. These movements are so automatic that no one thinks twice about them, until one day, when you try to turn a key or carry a bag, and you realize the strength just isn't there anymore. That's the real danger of aging. You don't notice it until it's too late. Here's something most people don't know. Grip strength isn't just an indicator of how strong your hands are. It's a measure of how much control you have over your own life. Studies have shown that weak grip strength is directly linked to overall body fragility and a higher likelihood of losing independence. And what happens when you can't hold on to things yourself? You need someone else to do it for you. And once you start depending on others, the decline is fast and unforgiving. But the problem isn't just physical, it's mental. When your hands lose strength, your confidence crumbles with them. It starts a chain reaction of insecurity that makes you move less, avoid certain tasks, and accept that someone else now has to help you. And that's when the real decline begins. Resignation is more dangerous than weakness because the moment you accept the idea that you can't anymore, you give up a little more of your independence every day. But listen closely, this isn't inevitable. You don't have to accept needing someone to button your shirt or cut your food. Your grip is your connection to the world, to your ability to hold on to what's yours, to keep functioning without relying on others. And the good news? You can train it. Simple exercises can make the difference between staying self-sufficient or becoming someone who depends on others for even the smallest things. If you think this won't happen to you, think again. Look around. How many people do you know who stopped doing things because they got too hard and just gave up? How many ended up dependent on others because they never strengthened what seemed insignificant? This isn't an exaggeration. It's the reality for so many people who woke up one day and realized they could no longer hold themselves up. And here's the key. If you train your grip, you train your independence. No matter how old you are, you can still prevent the fall. But if you ignore this, if you keep believing that walking is enough, sooner or later, you'll realize that it's not just objects you can't hold on to anymore. It's your own life slipping right through your fingers. If the strength of your posture defines how you face life, the strength of your hands determines how much control you have over it. That brings us to the second key point of this video. Train your grip or prepare to lose everything. It may seem like a minor detail, but it's not. Your hands have been the tools that allowed you to build, protect, and hold on to what's yours. And yet, many people reach a certain age without realizing they're losing something fundamental, the ability to hold their own future. Make no mistake, this isn't just a physical issue, it's a warning of what's coming if you don't act now. When your hands lose strength, so does your confidence in handling everyday life. And when confidence fades, you start giving up ground without realizing it. A jar you can't open today, a utensil that slips from your fingers tomorrow, a fall because you couldn't grab hold in time. Small details that, over time, push you toward dependence. The real problem? No one warns you about this. No one tells you that your grip strength is a direct reflection of your overall vitality, your autonomy, your personal power. Science is clear. Weak grip strength is linked to higher mortality rates, loss of mobility, and a shorter, more dependent life. But most people don't see it coming. They keep walking, thinking that's enough, without realizing that every day they go without strengthening their hands is one step closer to needing someone else to help them up. And here's the most important part. This isn't about fate, it's about choice. No matter your age, you can still turn this around. Strengthening your grip doesn't just prevent accidents and falls, it gives you something even more valuable: confidence in every action you take. Being able to open a door effortlessly, carry your own bags, catch yourself firmly if you stumble. Simple things, yes, but they make the difference between being self-sufficient and looking around for someone to help you. Stoicism teaches us that we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we prepare for it. You can't stop time, but you can decide what kind of person you'll be in the years ahead. If you train your grip, you train your independence. If you ignore it, sooner or later, you'll realize it's not just objects slipping from your hands, it's your own life. If posture keeps you upright and grip strength gives you control, there's something even more important that most people neglect: the ability to keep your mind sharp. We've reached the third key point of this video, and this is where everything starts to shift, because you either train your mind or old age will eat you alive. The biggest mistake people make as they age isn't losing mobility. It's stopping the mental challenges. They think staying physically active is all that matters, but the truth is, decline begins in the mind, not the body. When someone stops thinking, learning, and solving problems, their brain slowly shuts down. And when the mind goes, the body follows. It's like a house left without maintenance. First, tiny cracks appear in the walls, then moisture seeps in, and before you know it, everything starts collapsing. Science is crystal clear. People who don't keep their brains engaged are far more likely to experience cognitive decline, lose their independence, and become a burden to others. And the worst part, they don't even realize when it started. It begins with small things: struggling to remember names, difficulty focusing, feeling like every day is the same. It's not just old age, it's a lack of mental stimulation. It happens when your mind stops facing new challenges. But there's a way to fight back. And no, it has nothing to do with boring hobbies or crossword puzzles. If you truly want to avoid mental decline, you need to do the exact opposite of what most people your age are doing. You need to learn something that challenges you, something that makes you feel clumsy at first, forces you to think, makes you fail and figure things out. It could be a new language, a musical instrument, a trade, or even a physically demanding skill that requires mental coordination, like chess or certain types of exercise. The key is to push yourself just enough to force your brain to adapt and grow stronger. Think about this. What happens to a muscle that isn't used? It atrophies. The same happens to your mind. If you surround yourself with the same people, talk about the same things, and repeat the same routines, your brain slips into a state of stagnation that's hard to escape. But if you constantly challenge it, you build new connections, improve your focus, and send a clear message to your brain. There's still work to do. A famous study proves this. Researchers found that taxi drivers in major cities, those who memorize complex routes and locations, have a larger hippocampus than the average person. Why? Because their minds are constantly training. They weren't born with better memory. They developed it through daily effort. And if they can do it, so can you. Now tell me, when was the last time you truly learned something new? Something that pulled you out of your comfort zone, made you think, frustrated you, and ultimately helped you improve? If your answer is a long time ago, then you already know why every day feels the same. Before we move on to the next key points, drop a comment below. Let me know what country you're watching from and what new skill you'd like to learn. And make sure to subscribe now if you want to keep receiving these messages, because what's coming next is even more important. The final point in this video could be the difference between staying independent or losing it forever. Keeping your mind sharp is essential. But it won't mean a thing if your body doesn't respond when you need it most. And that brings us to the fourth key point of this video. Improve your balance, or you'll end up on the ground. This is one of the most common and dangerous mistakes people make as they age, believing that as long as they can take a few steps, they're fine. But what truly determines your independence isn't how far you can walk, it's how stable you are while doing it. Most people don't realize this until it's too late. It starts with little stumbles that seem harmless, moments where you lose your balance slightly, but manage to recover. Then, one day, your foot doesn't respond, your body can't react in time, and the fall comes without warning. A slip, a fracture, months of recovery, or worse, the total loss of mobility. Here's the mental trap many people fall into. They think losing balance is just a natural part of aging, something inevitable. But it's not. What actually happens is that over the years, people stop challenging their stability. They avoid movements that make them feel unsteady, they stop practicing agility, and without realizing it, they weaken their body's ability to stay in control. Ironically, the fear of falling is what makes most people fall. There's a fundamental rule in human physiology. If you don't use it, you lose it. If you avoid movements that test your balance, all you're doing is training your body to become clumsy. It's like a ship that never sails. It rusts away. First, it's a little stiffness in your legs. Then, it's slower reactions. And one day, when you really need stability, you find out you no longer have it. The consequences of ignoring this are devastating. One accident can mean the difference between continuing to live on your own or relying on others for everything. Ask anyone who's suffered a serious fall in their later years. Recovery is slow, painful, and often incomplete. But the worst part isn't just the physical damage, it's what happens in the mind. After a fall, fear takes over. The person starts moving less, avoiding certain activities, relying more on others, and that fear speeds up their decline. It's a vicious cycle that has robbed thousands of people of their independence. But here's the good news. Training your balance isn't optional, it's essential. No matter your age, you can improve your stability with the right exercises. Something as simple as standing on one foot while brushing your teeth, practicing controlled side-to-side movements, or getting up from a chair without using your hands can make a massive difference. The key is to challenge your body progressively, giving it a reason to adapt and get stronger. Don't wait until you fall to realize how important this is. Ignoring your balance is playing with fire, but those who train it are securing their independence for years to come. Because, in the end, the real question is this: do you want to keep standing on your own, or wait for someone else to pick you up? If your balance determines whether you stay on your feet or end up on the ground, there's something even deeper that controls how much energy you have to keep going. That brings us to the fifth key point of this video: breathe properly, or your energy will leave you before you do. Here's a truth most people don't want to admit. Most older adults live in a state of chronic exhaustion, and they don't even know why. They wake up tired, feel out of breath after the slightest effort, and every day seems to demand more than they have to give. And the worst part, they blame it on age as if feeling this way is normal. But it's not. It's not age that's draining your energy, it's the way you breathe. Look around. How many people do you know who breathe shallowly, using their chest instead of their diaphragm, taking short, quick gasps as if they're barely surviving rather than truly living? That kind of breathing keeps you in a constant state of fatigue, deprives your body of oxygen, weakens your focus, and speeds up physical decline. It's like having a powerful engine with a clogged fuel line. You'll never run at full capacity. But here's where it gets dangerous. When your body gets used to poor breathing, you start moving less. You stop walking long distances because you feel out of breath. You avoid stairs because they leave you winded. You'd rather stay home, stuck in the comfort of routine, and before you know it, a sedentary lifestyle takes over. And once you're trapped in that cycle, weakness becomes an unavoidable sentence. The solution exists, but no one is going to hand it to you. If you want your energy back, you need to retrain your breathing. That means learning to use your diaphragm instead of your chest, practicing deep, controlled breaths, and understanding that oxygen is the fuel that determines how well your body functions. Something as simple as taking a few minutes each day to focus on deep breathing, expanding your abdomen instead of lifting your shoulders, can transform your endurance, sharpen your mind, and help you move without exhaustion. But this isn't just a technique, it's a mindset. If you keep breathing like someone who's just surviving, you'll live like someone who's waiting for time to break them down. But if you choose to breathe like someone who still has strength left, your body will respond with energy. The difference between a person who ages with vitality and someone who slowly fades away isn't in the number of years, it's in how they use their body to keep moving forward. Don't let fatigue dictate the rest of your life. If every day feels heavier than the last, don't accept that feeling as normal. Breathe properly, oxygenate your body, and you'll realize the energy you thought was gone is still there, waiting for you to take it back. If breathing is the fuel for your body, there's something else determining whether you move freely or become more stiff and limited with each passing day. That brings us to the sixth key point of this video. Unlock your mobility, or you'll turn into a statue. Imagine this. One day, you bend down to pick something up, and you feel a slight pull in your back. It's not sharp pain, but something tells you it's best not to try again. Months go by, and without realizing it, you start avoiding certain movements. You stop fully turning your head when driving, you sit down to put on your shoes instead of bending over, you avoid anything that requires too much flexibility. Until one day, you realize your body just doesn't respond anymore. It's not that you don't want to move, it's that you can't. This happens to more people than you think, and it has nothing to do with age. It has everything to do with the unconscious decision to stop using your body the way it was designed to move. Stiffness doesn't arrive overnight. It creeps in, little by little, with every movement you stop doing, with every slouched posture you settle into. And by the time you notice, it feels too late. Moving hurts, every joint feels rusted, and the only solution seems to be moving even less. It's a vicious cycle that traps people inside their own bodies. The real danger? No one tells you when you've crossed the line from mobility to stiffness. We assume it's normal to lose flexibility with age, but that's not the truth. Stiffness is not a product of aging, it's the result of years of neglect. It happens not because you're getting older, but because you stop moving the way your body was built to move. And the worst part? When you lose mobility, you lose confidence in your own body. You stop walking with certainty. You avoid certain positions. You become slower, clumsier, more prone to falling. But here's what separates those who age with strength from those who end up relying on a chair to get around. The ones who thrive make mobility a priority. You don't need complicated exercises or hours at the gym. You just need to regain the movements you've lost over the years. Squat without fear. Twist your torso without stiffness. Lift your arms without feeling like your shoulders are going to snap. These are basic movements that should feel natural. But if you don't practice them, they become impossible. If you do nothing now, one day you'll wake up and feel like your body is a cage. Every step will be slower. Every effort will feel like a risk. And by then, it won't be about what you want to do. It'll be about what you can do with the limitations you created for yourself. Because here's what no one tells you. Stiffness isn't just physical, it's mental. The more afraid you are of movement, the faster you'll turn into a statue. So the question is simple. Do you want to keep living with freedom, or are you just waiting for the day when movement is no longer an option? If stiffness turns you into a statue, lack of strength condemns you to depend on others. And now, we've reached the seventh and final point of this video, the one that can mean the difference between standing on your own or waiting for someone else to lift you up. Build your strength, or be prepared to be carried. Listen carefully, because this is what no one tells you. One day, you'll try to get up from a chair and realize you can't do it without support. One day, carrying a simple grocery bag will feel like too much effort. One day, your own legs won't respond when you try to step up onto a curb. And when that day comes, you'll understand that there's no turning back, that you now rely on someone else to move, that your body is no longer yours. And no matter how much you want to, getting back what you lost will be nearly impossible. People think aging is just about the years passing, but it's not. Real aging begins the moment you lose the strength to hold yourself up. That's when you go from being an independent person to someone who needs to be lifted, supported, and helped with things you once did without thinking. And the worst part, this doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow, silent process that starts when you decide you're too old to push yourself, when you believe that walking is enough, when you convince yourself that losing strength is natural and do nothing to stop it. But here's what many ignore. No matter how old you are, you can regain your strength. You don't need to lift heavy weights or train like an athlete. You just need to make sure your muscles keep working. Squats, standing up from a chair without using your hands, carrying a bit of weight in your daily routine. Anything that challenges your body to keep functioning. Because if you don't, if you keep avoiding effort, you're setting yourself up for a future where your only movement is waiting for someone else to do things for you. So take a good look at yourself and ask, do you want to stay in control of your body, or are you ready to let others decide for you? Because this isn't about luck, it's about choice. If you train your strength, you train your independence. If you neglect it, time will remind you who's really in charge. And when that day comes, you'll realize that what you lost wasn't just muscle. It was the freedom to live your life without waiting for someone else to carry you. If you've made it this far, it's because you're not like most people. Most would rather look the other way when faced with an uncomfortable truth. Most prefer excuses, believing that aging is just bad luck rather than the result of daily choices. But you're still here, and that means deep down, you know you can still do something for yourself. Now, the decision is in your hands. You can ignore everything you've heard and keep wandering forward, hoping your body will hold up without preparation. Or you can start moving with purpose, strengthening what truly matters, and making sure the years ahead belong to you, not to anyone else. Because aging isn't the problem. The problem is reaching a point where your own life is no longer yours. I want you to comment one simple phrase, "My body is my independence," and tell me where you're watching from. Because this message isn't just for you, it's for anyone who needs to hear it. Share this with someone who still believes aging is just about resignation. This could be the wake-up call they need. I'm Celia, and this is House of Wisdom, a space for those who have chosen to wake up, open their eyes, and live with dignity. Here, I won't tell you what you want to hear. I'll tell you what you need to take back your respect and independence. Subscribe now and join this community of people who refuse to be victims of age and instead choose to live with strength. And if this video made you think, don't stop here. Watch either of the videos on your screen, because this conversation isn't over. It's just getting started.